I was in advanced thermodynamics when my phone vibrated. Mom's name. I let it go to voicemail. 30 seconds later, it vibrated again. And again. By the fourth call, Professor Mitchell paused mid-equation and looked at me. I mouthed sorry and stepped into the hallway. Catherine. Mom's voice had that edge, the one she used when she'd already decided something and expected compliance. I've withdrawn you from school. You need to come home immediately. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Students passed, backpacks heavy with textbooks. Someone laughed about an exam. Normal campus sounds that suddenly felt very far away. What are you talking about? Your brother needs help with his new business. Real family support, not this selfish academic fantasy you're living. I've already submitted the withdrawal forms to the registrar. You're done there. My hand tightened on the phone. You can't withdraw me. I'm 23 years old. I'm listed as your emergency contact. They were very accommodating when I explained you were having a mental health crisis and needed to come home for treatment. Her voice brightened, pleased with her own cleverness. Your father agrees this is best. Brandon's company needs someone to handle the bookkeeping, and frankly, you owe this family after everything we've invested in you. I closed my eyes, counted to 3, opened them. I'll call you back. Catherine, don't you dare. I ended the call and walked directly to the administration building. The autumn air was sharp, biting through my sweater. My breath came out in clouds. The Shaw Engineering Building rose to my left. 5 stories of glass and steel, completed 18 months ago. My grandmother's legacy. My responsibility. The registrar's office had that institutional smell, old paper and industrial carpet. The student worker at the desk looked up with practiced customer service exhaustion. I need to speak with someone about withdrawal forms, I said. Someone may have submitted them fraudulently under my name. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. Name. Catherine Marie Shaw. She went very still. Then she picked up the phone, pressed a button and spoke quietly. Mrs. Henderson, there's a situation. Catherine Shaw is here. 2 minutes later I was in a private office. Mrs. Henderson, the registrar, had silver hair and reading glasses on a chain. She folded her hands on the desk. Miss Shaw, your mother called an hour ago. Said you were experiencing severe depression and needed immediate withdrawal for psychiatric treatment. She submitted forms through the online portal. She has your login information, apparently. She doesn't have my login information. She can't have my login information. I'm over 18. She has no legal authority to access my academic records or make decisions about my enrollment. Mrs. Henderson nodded slowly. That's what I thought. But she was very insistent and claimed she had medical power of attorney. She doesn't. My voice was flat, controlled. I'd like those forms destroyed. And I'd like to speak with whoever authorized accepting them. Of course. She made a note. Though I should mention, your mother is currently on hold with the dean's office. She called there when I told her I needed to verify the information before processing anything. That's when I heard it. Through the wall, muffled but distinct, my mother's voice rising in volume. The words weren't clear, but the tone was demanding. Dialed. Used to getting her way. I stood. Where's the dean's office? Miss Shaw, perhaps we should. Please. Mrs. Henderson studied me for a long moment. Then she stood too. Follow me. We walked down the corridor. The dean's suite was behind double doors. Nicer carpet, better lighting, photos of distinguished alumni on the walls. The receptionist's desk sat empty, but through the open door of an inner office, I heard my mother clearly now. I don't care what your privacy policies are. I'm her mother. She's clearly having a breakdown and you people are enabling it by letting her waste her life on some engineering degree when her family needs her. The dean's assistant, a woman in her 50s with immaculate posture, held the phone slightly away from her ear. When she saw me in the doorway, her expression shifted, relief mixed with something else. Recognition, maybe. She'd been at the building dedication ceremony. We'd shaken hands. She spoke into the phone, her voice professionally pleasant but with steel underneath. Ma'am, I need to stop you there. You're attempting to withdraw Catherine Shaw from the university. Yes, finally, someone who... Miss Shaw is standing in front of me right now. The assistant's eyes met mine. She appears to be in excellent health. She's also our largest individual donor in the past decade. She personally endowed the Shaw Engineering Building, a $4.2 million gift from her grandmother's estate, which Ms. Shaw administered as trustee and specifically directed to this institution. The silence on the other end of the phone was absolute. The assistant continued, her tone never changing. Ms. Shaw has also established 3 full-ride engineering scholarships for first-generation college students, funds 2 research fellowships annually, and serves on our engineering advisory board. She graduated summa cum laude with her bachelor's degree and is currently pursuing her master's in mechanical engineering while maintaining a 4.0 GPA. I could hear my mother trying to speak, but the assistant wasn't finished. What you've attempted to do constitutes fraud, falsely claiming medical authority to make academic decisions for an adult student. I'm transferring you to our legal department now. They'll want to discuss the forged documents you submitted to our registrar. She pressed a button. The hold music started immediately, tinny, institutional. Then she hung up and looked at me. I apologize, Ms. Shaw. This should never have gotten this far. It's not your fault. My voice came out steadier than I expected. She's persistent. Mrs. Henderson, who'd followed me in, made a note on her tablet. I'll flag your account with the highest level of protection. No one can access or modify anything without your physical presence and photo ID. I'll also alert campus security to the situation. The assistant nodded. I'll brief Dean Morrison. She'll want to know about this. Thank you. I turned to leave, then stopped. Actually, could you give me the number for your legal department? I think I need to have a direct conversation with them about next steps. She wrote it on a card and handed it to me. Our fingers touched briefly. Hers were warm, grandmotherly almost. You've handled this with remarkable composure. I wasn't sure about that. My hands were shaking. But I'd learned something over the past 2 years since Grandma died and left me everything. Her estate, her trust in my judgment, her belief that I could do something meaningful with the gift she'd given me. Some people see money as control. Others see it as responsibility. Grandma saw it as freedom. The freedom to choose your own path. The freedom to say no. I walked back across campus, called the legal department, spent 40 minutes on the phone explaining the situation. They used words like identity fraud and FERPA violation and cease and desist letter. They said they'd handle it, that the university took these matters very seriously. Then I sat on a bench near the engineering building and finally let myself feel it. Not anger exactly. Something colder than that. Something that had been building for years. Every family dinner where Brandon's failed business ventures were bold risks, while my academic achievements were nice. But when are you getting a real job? Every time Mom borrowed money, just until Brandon's deal goes through. Money that never came back. Every guilt trip about not being there for the family, as if proximity was the only measure of love. The ghost ledger of family expectations. A personal accounting. Line item 1. Thanksgiving 2 years ago. Brandon needed $15,000 for a sure thing investment. I was in my senior year. Working part-time at the lab, managing Grandma's estate paperwork, studying for the GRE. Mom called it selfish when I said no. Cost. My confidence that saying no was allowed. Never recoverable. Line item 2. Summer internship at Boeing, turned down because family needs you home for Brandon's latest startup launch party. I served drinks while he pitched an app that never materialized. Cost. Professional opportunity, 3 months of advancement. Permanent career delay. Line item 3. Grandma's funeral. Brandon complained about the will in front of mourners. Mom said I should share the inheritance since Grandma didn't understand I'd wasted on education. Cost. The ability to grieve in peace. A memory contaminated forever. Line item 4. Every phone call that started with "your brother needs" and ended with "my resources." Time, money, emotional labor, extracted like taxes. Cost. The years I spent believing that being capable meant being obligated. The years I thought love required depletion. The gambler's fallacy applies to families too. I kept thinking if I just proved myself enough, graduated with honors, got into the master's program, made smart decisions with Grandma's trust, they'd see me as something other than a resource to be mined. But they didn't want me to be successful. They wanted me to be useful. And those are different things entirely. My phone buzzed. Dad this time. I let it ring. Then Brandon. Then Mom again calling from a different number. I turned my phone off and sat there as the afternoon light shifted, golden and slanting through the trees. Students walked past, stressed about midterms, excited about weekend plans, living their complicated, normal lives. I thought about Grandma. How she'd worked as an engineer in the 1960s when women in the field were rare enough to make the newspapers. How she'd saved and invested and built something real. How she'd sat me down when I was 17 and said, "Katie, I'm leaving this to you because I know you won't waste it. And I know you won't let anyone make you feel guilty for having it." She'd known. Of course she'd known. I turned my phone back on. 37 missed calls. 16 voicemails. 43 texts. I deleted them all without reading or listening. Then I opened my contacts and scrolled to Mom's number. Hit the block button. Dead. Block. Brandon. Block. Then I called the university's legal department back. "Hi, this is Catherine Shaw. We spoke earlier. I need to add something to my statement. I'd like to pursue full legal action against my mother for identity fraud, attempted unauthorized access to educational records, and any other applicable charges. I'll cooperate fully with the investigation." The attorney's voice was professionally neutral, but I heard the approval underneath. "We'll file with campus police immediately. They'll coordinate with local authorities. You should also consider a restraining order." "I will. Thank you." That evening I met with campus police. Made a formal statement. Signed documents. The officer, an older woman with kind eyes, said she'd seen this before. Parents who couldn't accept their adult children's autonomy. It happened more than people realized. "You're doing the right thing," she told me. "Boundaries aren't cruel. They're necessary." I nodded. Felt the truth of it settle into my bones. 3 days later I received an email from the dean. The university was pursuing criminal charges. My academic records were now sealed at the highest level. Fort Knox, as Mrs. Henderson put it. And they wanted to discuss expanding my scholarship fund if I was interested. I was. 2 weeks after that, campus police served my mother with a no trespass order and formal charges for identity fraud and computer crimes. She'd accessed the student portal using old information and falsified medical documents. Dad called from a number I hadn't blocked yet, screaming about embarrassment and ingratitude. I hung up. Blocked that number too. Brandon sent a long email about family loyalty and how I was tearing everyone apart. He said Mom was devastated. That Dad wasn't sleeping. That I was selfish and cold and everything wrong with this generation. I didn't respond. But I did screenshot it and send it to my attorney. Documentation, she said, was important. 4 months later, I'm sitting in the Shaw Engineering Building's top-floor study lounge. It's midnight. Campus is quiet. Through the window I can see the lights of the city stretching out. Thousands of lives, each one a story I'll never know. My thesis defense is in 2 weeks. I've already accepted a position at Lockheed Martin starting after graduation. The scholarship fund I expanded now supports 8 students. First generation, just like Grandma was. Just like I am, really, in the ways that count. Mom's criminal trial is scheduled for next month. The prosecutor says it's a strong case. She created false documents, impersonated me, attempted to access protected records. Dad hired a lawyer to try to make it go away. The lawyer told him that's not how felonies work. I haven't spoken to any of them since that day in October. I blocked their numbers, their emails, their social media. I built a wall, not out of anger but out of architecture. Clean lines. Load-bearing. Permanent. Sometimes I think about the alternate version of my life. The one where I let Mom withdraw me. Where I went home, did Brandon's bookkeeping, made myself small and useful and disappeared into the service of people who confused love with extraction. That version of Catherine is a ghost. She haunts me sometimes, usually at 2 a.m. when I'm deep in research and questioning everything. But then I remember, ghosts aren't real. They're just stories we tell ourselves about roads not taken. I chose this road. I chose the one that hurt at first but led somewhere I wanted to go. Grandma used to say that engineering is about understanding load and stress, knowing what structures can bear and what breaks them. She meant buildings, but she also didn't. I've learned my load capacity. I know exactly how much I can carry and what happens when I exceed it. The relationship with my parents exceeded it. So I removed the load. The building is still standing. My phone sits face down on the desk, silent. The thermodynamics textbook is open to chapter 17. Outside, snow has started to fall. the first of the season, soft and quiet. They wanted to control my education, my future, my freedom. They thought the university would comply because parents always get their way, especially when they invoke mental health and family crisis. They forgot something important, though. I'm not the struggling student they imagined. I'm not the resource they decided I should be. I'm the person who wrote the check that built this building. I'm the engineer who's going to design systems that matter. I'm the granddaughter who honored a legacy by refusing to let anyone diminish it. The dean's assistant was right about one thing. I did handle it with composure. But what she didn't see, what they never see until it's too late, is that composure isn't passivity. It's precision. And I've learned from the best that precision applied correctly can move mountains. Or in this case, remove them entirely from your life. The scholarship fund will outlive me. The building will stand for decades. 8 students are getting educations they couldn't otherwise afford. Mom is facing felony charges and a permanent criminal record. The math is simple, really. You can't withdraw someone who's already arrived.